I just want to see my balance. That line made the manager laugh loud enough for the whole lobby to turn, a homeless-looking old man asking for a check like he belonged there. Security moved in. Customers whispered. But the moment the card hit the system, the manager's face drained and the room felt a truth no one was ready for. Before we go any further, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Now, let's begin. Thomas Kellen walked into the Lakeside branch just after sunrise, dressed in a faded jacket that hung loose on his shoulders. The fabric smelled faintly of old rain, and the cuffs were worn soft from years of hands wiping cold mornings away. He looked like someone who slept near vents behind office buildings, the kind people avoid without thinking. The lobby lights buzzed overhead, warm but too bright. They reflected off the marble floor, making him squint for a moment. A few customers turned just long enough to decide he didn't belong here. A woman near the deposit slips whispered, "Why is he even inside this branch?" Someone else muttered, "He's lost." Thomas kept his pace slow, letting his boots scrape lightly across the tiles. His posture looked tired, but his eyes were awake, watching everything. He could feel the faint perfume from a lone officer drifting into the air. Somewhere behind him, a printer hummed through a batch of documents. The anonymous message replayed in his mind. "They're mistreating black customers. Poor folks, too. Go check." No signature, no explanation, just truth wrapped in warning. He hadn't slept after reading it. He refused to let rot grow inside a bank he quietly built from the ground up. So he came alone, wearing Judgment's favorite target, worn clothes, unshaved jaw, tired steps. He wanted honesty, not ceremony. As he reached the counter, a few employees paused their tasks. One teller nudged another, whispering something that made the second chuckle under his breath. A guard glanced over, hand-tapping near his belt, ready to escalate a situation that didn't exist. Behind the counter stood Ross Halden, the branch manager, mid-40s, expensive haircut, crisp shirt, eyes that scanned people before sentences. He looked at Thomas like someone inspecting a problem left on his doorstep. Ross forced a smile that didn't survive past his lips. "Yes, what do you need?" Thomas placed a black diamond platinum card on the desk. The edges were worn, but the weight of it was unmistakable. "I just want to see my balance." A couple nearby customers shifted, amusement creeping into their faces. One whispered, "He thinks that card is real?" Another snorted softly. Ross tapped the card with his finger, smirking. "Sir, where did you get this?" Thomas didn't flinch. "Run it." Something in his tone made the nearby gossip fade for a moment. A quiet ripple moved through the room as eyes drifted toward the counter, waiting for whatever they assumed would be a mess. Thomas stayed still, shoulders relaxed, hands loose at his sides. He had seen this kind of moment before, people judging first, thinking later. He watched Ross with calm curiosity, letting the room's tension build naturally. The manager finally sighed, grabbed the card and slid it into the terminal, and the lobby settled into a silence that waited to be broken. Ross held the card between two fingers like he was handling something suspicious. His smirk tightened, the kind that showed he already decided the ending before the scene even started. He straightened his tie, rolled his shoulders back slightly, and nodded to the guard. "Stay close," he murmured. The guard stepped forward, boots thewing softly against the floor. His presence alone made a few customers look over with interest. One man near the brochures whispered, "This is about to be embarrassing." Another said, "Why do these guys always try this stuff?" Ross slid the card into the reader with a dramatic pause, almost as if giving the room time to appreciate the show. Thomas didn't move. He rested one palm on the counter, tapping gently once, then twice, barely audible. His fingers looked steady, almost deliberate. His breathing stayed slow, controlled. Ross typed the card number with unnecessary force, each keystroke sharp and loud. "Sir," he said, voice dripping with sarcasm, "you understand this type of card is issued to our most elite clients, right?" "Though," Moss gave a slow nod. "That's so." A woman in a blazer scoffed quietly. "He sounds confident for someone about to get kicked out." Another person muttered, "I hope they film this." Ross leaned closer to the monitor as the system loaded. He clicked a tab, frowned, then clicked it again as if the machine needed discipline. "These scams get more creative every year," he said loudly, making sure everyone heard him. Thomas let the insult slide. He kept his shoulders relaxed, his gaze soft but unblinking. The air felt warmer around him, carrying the faint smell of toner and fresh paper. He could hear the faint shuffle of annoyed customers switching weight from one foot to the other. Ross hit enter. The screen froze for a moment. A circle spun once, then the next page loaded. Ross frowned deeper. He adjusted the monitor slightly, thinking maybe the viewing angle distorted the information. He clicked again, harder. His jaw tightened a little. "What's wrong?" someone asked quietly. "I thought he'd be thrown out by now." Another replied. The spinning icon disappeared, replaced by the account details. Ross blinked, leaned forward, blink again. He whispered something under his breath, a sound too soft to catch. His face stiffened. One hand slowly lifted from the desk, hovering near his mouth as he stared at the name on the screen like it was a mistake he couldn't correct. Thomas didn't speak. He watched Ross's micro-movements, a tightening brow, a deep swallow, a sudden shift of posture. As the manager's confidence cracked at the edges, Ross clicked the Details tab again, faster this time. Like repetition might change reality. The number didn't budge. The name didn't budge. Thomas Kellen, account type, executive access, balance, enough to make Ross's throat tighten again. The guard behind Thomas leaned forward, trying to catch a glimpse, confusion settling across his face. Ross cleared his throat, but the sound came out uneven. This is odd. The customers sensed something shift, whispering softened. Phones tilted upward, capturing the moment Ross lost his footing. Thomas lifted his chin slightly, watching the manager wrestle with the truth he didn't want. Ross clicked a third time, frantic now. Nothing changed, and that was when the first crack in his composure showed his right hand trembled just once before he gripped the desk to hide it. Ross stared at the monitor like it had flashed something dangerous. His pupils tightened. His breath came shallow, barely visible except for the slight rise in his shoulders. He clicked again, slower this time, as if accuracy depended on gentleness. Nothing changed. The same name glowed back at him in a cold, undeniable line. Thomas Kellen, Chief Executive Officer. Ross's lips moved, but no sound came out. The guard behind Thomas shifted awkwardly, lowering his hands from his belt. A woman near the ATM whispered, "Why does he look scared now?" Another muttered, "What did he see?" Phones lifted higher. People leaned in without stepping forward. Thomas watched Ross quietly, observing the micro cracks, the tightening at the corner of his mouth, the way he pressed his thumb into the edge of the desk, the faint tremble running through his left hand. Ross clicked the account summary tab again, almost pleading with the system to correct itself. It didn't. The balance was large enough to make his stomach turn. He pulled his chair closer, leaning forward until his forehead nearly touched the screen. His voice dropped to a raw whisper. No, that's not possible." Thomas finally spoke calm and steady. "Something wrong?" Ross jerked upright, swallowing hard. Sir, this must be a system error." "You sure?" Ross blinked rapidly, searching for words. His posture lost its earlier arrogance. His shoulders slouched. His tie suddenly looked too tight, and he tugged at it in a quick, nervous motion. Let me confirm something." He clicked through internal logs, verifying what he already knew. Every check pointed to the same truth. The old man in worn clothing wasn't pretending. He wasn't confused. He wasn't trespassing. He owned the place. A few customers exchanged looks of disbelief. "That's him," one whispered. "The CEO? Like the CEO? CEO? No way. That's really him." Thomas didn't turn toward the whispers. He didn't need to. The energy in the room shifted around him naturally, like gravity readjusting. Ross cleared his throat again, but it came out cracked. "Sir, if I had known." Thomas cut him off wit. A slight raise of his hand. No anger, no rush. Just a calm gesture that made Ross flinch. "You judged me before you knew anything." Ross's eyes widened. "I didn't mean." "You didn't need to mean it," Thomas said. "You just needed to believe what you saw." Someone near the deposit line hissed under their breath, "Man, he's finished." Another whispered, "Sheesh, look how fast he switched." Ross pressed both palms on the desk to steady himself. His breathing was louder now, uneven. Sweat formed at his hairline. He tried to speak, but the words tangled. Thomas took a small step back, letting the silence stretch. The room held its breath with him. He tilted his head, voice soft but clear. "If this card had shown a balance of $20, would you have treated me the same?" Ross's eyes dropped instantly. He didn't answer. He couldn't, and the truth sat between them, exposed for everyone watching. The lobby felt heavier after that question, like the air thickened around every person listening. Ross kept his eyes glued to the counter, jaw locked, breathing shallow. His earlier confidence was gone. Only panic stayed behind, tightening the muscles in his neck. Someone near the lone desks whispered, "He's cooked." Another whispered back, "Man was flexing 10 minutes ago." Thomas didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The stillness around him did the work. He stood with his hands loosely clasped behind his back, posture calm, the quiet authority of someone who had seen far worse storms. Roster IED to straighten up, forcing a professional tone that kept breaking. "Mr. Kellen, I assure you this situation was misinterpreted." Thomas's eyebrow lifted slightly. "You laughed at me, Ross, before you even checked the card." The guard near the wall shifted his stance, suddenly unsure whose side he was supposed to be on. A pair of tellers pretended to straighten papers, though their eyes stayed glued to the scene. Ross opened his mouth, but the lobby murmurs cut him off. A man by the withdrawal line said under his breath, "He called security instantly." A woman added, "He didn't even ask the man a full question." Another murmured, "This is exactly what folks complain about." Ross heard every bit of it. The comments made his face tighten, his nostrils flare. He tried to take control again. "Sir, please allow me to fix whatever went wrong here." Thomas stepped closer, not threatening, just near enough to make Ross hold his breath. "Tell me, Ross, when I walked in, what did you see first? My card or my clothes?" Ross's eyes flickered with guilt. Thomas didn't look triumphant. He looked tired. "You had one job," he said softly, "to make people feel safe when they walk in." Someone near the main entrance whispered, "This is going viral for sure." Another muttered, "Yeah, somebody's recording." Phones remained angled up, not hidden anymore. Ross ran a hand through his hair, messing up the careful styling he wore like armor. "Mr. Kellen, sir, I wasn't aware of who you exactly." Thomas's voice slid through. "Ugh," the room with quiet weight. Respect should not depend on identity. Ross shut his eyes for a moment, shoulders sagging. A dull ringing filled his ears, drowning out the lobby noise. When he opened them, Thomas was still watching him with that calm, unnervingly steady expression. Thomas turned slightly toward the crowd, not for a dramatic moment, but because the room was already listening. "A bank should not judge you before you finish a sentence," he said. "A balance doesn't determine dignity. A suit doesn't determine worth." Customers nodded quietly. A woman near the side chairs whispered, "Wish someone said that years ago." Ross swallowed hard. Sweat gathered near his collar. He tried again, voice trembling. "I apologize, sir, truly." Thomas didn't return the apology with comfort. "Your apology isn't for me," he said. "It's for everyone you handled this way before today." Ross blinked rapidly, eyes dropping to the floor. The tension in the room reached its quiet peak. Phones stayed raised. Everyone watched the man who once ruled the lobby shrink inside the same space he once dominated, and Thomas didn't need to say another word. The damage was already done. Thomas returned the next morning dressed in a charcoal suit, moving with the quiet confidence of someone who didn't need an introduction. The lobby straightened itself unintentionally. Conversations softened. A few employees pretended to reorganize papers just to avoid meeting his eyes. Ross Halden wasn't in the building. His office door was half open, the desk cleared, the nameplate removed. HR boxes sat stacked neatly inside. The silence around that doorway told the whole story. Thomas walked with the regional director toward the operations room. His tone stayed even, almost gentle, but every word carried weight. "No more guessing who deserves respect," he said. "Every customer gets dignity every time. New policies were activated before noon. Bias checks, complaint tracking, mandatory retraining, and a clear rule. Nobody gets dismissed for looking poor. Some staff watched Thomas pass with guilt, others with relief. A teller whispered to her colleague, "Maybe this place will finally feel human again." When Thomas stepped outside, the morning breeze brushed across his face. He blended into the street as easily as he had blended into the lobby the day before, only now with cleaner clothes and eyes that had seen the truth he came for. He didn't need applause. He didn't need recognition. He needed fairness, and he built it quietly, the same way he handled everything that mattered. If this hit you, stick around. Subscribe for the next story. It's already loading.